Face screaming, in fear. Have you ever heard something a WWE star said, and later realized it came true in the worst possible way? In this video, we are going to look at several real moments where WWE legends said things that sounded eerie, emotional, or even like warnings, and then later those stars passed away in ways that made fans go back and rethink those words. These are not made-up stories. These are moments reported online, taken from real interviews or public appearances, and documented by wrestling media and Wikipedia. Stay with me until the end because the last one will truly shock you and show how life sometimes mirrors what we say years before it happens. One of the most unsettling stories involves the Ultimate Warrior. Just after being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2014, Warrior spoke directly to the fans and said something that sounds haunting today. He talked about how every man's heart will one day beat its final beat, and his lungs will breathe their final breath, and that if someone's spirit meant something to people, it would be remembered forever. It wasn't just general talk. It was part of a speech that would become legendary because he died from a heart attack less than 24 hours after that appearance. Many fans believe that in those words, he somehow knew his time was very limited and chose to speak openly about life and legacy before he passed. Another story comes from the legendary Roddy Piper, one of WWE's most iconic superstars. In a 2003 interview, Piper said something shocking. He admitted he didn't think he would live to be 65 years old, especially because of the toll wrestling had taken on his body. He said clearly that he didn't expect to reach that age and was honest about how hard life had been on him. Fans later realized how real those words were when Piper died in his sleep in 2015 at just 61 years old, just a few years short of what he had predicted in that interview. While not exactly a prediction of death, there's the case of Eddie Guerrero, a man loved by millions of fans around the world. Eddie didn't publicly say he knew how or when he would die, but he did speak often about the pain and struggles he carried in life, and how he had been through a lot physically and emotionally. Eddie passed away suddenly in 2005 at the age of 38 due to heart failure, a shock to wrestling fans everywhere. His legacy lives on, and when people look back at his interviews and the honesty in his words about struggle and pain, it feels like he knew how close life's end could be for him even if he didn't say it outright. Another voice that really stood out was Roddy Piper's own candid honesty about aging and wrestling. He openly admitted later in life that he had come back to the ring even though his body was breaking down because he couldn't access his pension until he turned 65. In that same interview, he said he didn't think he'd make it to that age, and sadly he was right. And this was not an internet rumor. This was said in a recorded interview that's referenced in multiple wrestling history sources. There are fans who also talk about how Bray Wyatt's promos and character work often revolved around darkness, endings, and the idea that life slips away from us. While Bray didn't explicitly predict his own death, many fans look back at his speeches, interviews, and storytelling and see a kind of poetic foreshadowing that hits differently now that he's gone. His words about how life ends for everyone and how stories live on after death feel eerily real in hindsight. While this isn't documented as a prediction, it is based on how fans have interpreted his real words and segments after his untimely passing. There's also the broader reality behind many WWE careers. The industry has seen a troubling number of performers die younger than expected, sometimes in their 30s, 40s, or early 60s. One wrestling media list notes that many wrestlers passed away far too soon because of health issues tied to long careers of physical punishment, and that makes the moments when they spoke about life, pain, or aging feel even more powerful when you hear those words now. Even though not every wrestler spoke outright about predicting their own death, when superstars like Ultimate Warrior talked directly about their own life ending within hours, or Roddy Piper openly announced his fear that he wouldn't make it to retirement age, fans were stunned when those moments became real. And that is part of what makes these stories so chilling. They are not fake, they are not exaggerated, they are based on real interviews, real appearances, and real events. If you're watching until the very end, I want you to think about this. These wrestlers were real people with real pain, real struggles, and real fears. They entertained millions, but they also lived with the reality that their bodies and their lives weren't endless. The fact that some of their final words or heartfelt interviews line up with how their lives actually unfolded is something fans still talk about today. So thank you for staying with me through every story here. These are not legends made up for entertainment. These are documented, verified moments where WWE stars spoke deeply about life, legacy, and in some cases, the very end of their own journey. If you stayed until the end, you now know the truth behind the words that felt like predictions, and how real life sometimes follows the script in ways we never expect.